What's going on, everybody? Good afternoon. Hope you guys are doing well. We're just a couple days away from the draft. I know that everybody is excited. Maybe not as excited as you would typically be a couple days before an NFL draft, but excited nonetheless. And I want to talk a little bit about some stuff going on within the division with our two primary division rivals. This is not anything that just happened. This is stuff that has happened over the last couple of days. Not really anything super pressing here, but I did want to briefly go over this because you have two different things happening with our two main division rivals that kind of fall under one particular theme. And I want to talk about that a little bit. This video is sponsored by Prize Picks, more on them later. But a couple days ago, the San Francisco 49ers went first here. They found a contract agreement that satisfied both ends with Trent Williams. So there was a lot of talk leading up to this season that the 49ers and Trent Williams would be going Splitsville at some point, and presumably, if it was going to happen, it was going to happen before the draft, because that's when they would have to make a decision, because they don't really have an adequate replacement for Trent Williams. And if Trent Williams goes, they'd probably need to send him on his way, or at least commit to sending him on his way before the draft, so it would free them up to take Caleb Lomu or Monroe Freeling or whoever is there when their pick comes up. So, yeah, Trent Williams is going to be sticking around. They came to an agreement on a 2-year, $50 million contract extension that ties him to the 49ers through 2027. So I believe that part of the extension is a void year because he was already under contract through 2026 as is. So you're probably looking at he gets some 2027 security, and then 2028 there's a void hit on his deal. So Trent Williams is going to remain a 49er. And like I said, there's this particular theme going here of teams in our division basically just trying to stick with what they've got and trying to hold out and hope that what they have is ultimately the core of a Super Bowl team. Because beyond just the fact that Trent Williams was making an uncomfortable amount of money, beyond the fact that his contract was relatively malleable and you could move off of it, there was an argument to be made that it was time to do something different here, because Trent Williams is very old. He's got a massive amount of wear and tear on his body from all that playing, and he actually did get injured for the first time in forever this most recent season. So there was an argument to be made that it was just kind of time. But the Niners decided they're not going to go ahead and listen to that. They are going to go ahead and keep him around, and they're going to basically run it back and try to go win a Super Bowl this year with the core that they've had for many years. And you're also seeing that with things like them talking about George Kittle being ready to go for week 1, which is very optimistic given the injury he had and when he had it, but that's what they're going for. So basically, the Niners are going to keep plugging away at it with the basic core that they have. Obviously, they have a couple young players there, but there's no indication they're moving off of Christian McCaffrey. They're not moving off of, like I said, Kittle. They're keeping the old guard together. Do you like sports? If you do, then the best way to make them even better and more exciting is using Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. Prize Picks makes daily fantasy simple. Just pick more or less on your favorite players' projections and build lineups with a few taps. Whatever sport you're into, Prize Picks gives you a fun way to stay locked in while you're watching. I've had a great time using Prize Picks so far. It makes this daily fantasy thing so easy and fun, and it even makes watching the games way more exciting. And with the cool social feeds feature, you can share lineups with your friends and even follow partners to tail or fade their picks. Obviously, we're in the NFL offseason right now, but we've got basketball, baseball, hockey, all kinds of other stuff, so don't be afraid to test things out in whatever sport clicks with you. You can even pick multiple sports in the same lineup and sweat everything at once. And don't forget about team picks, where you can pick winners, spreads, and totals on any major game. So, download Prize Picks, America's #1 sports app, And don't forget, code HMA, that is HMA, gives you $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. And remember, always gamble responsibly. So, yeah, the Niners are not backing down. They're not tapping out. They're not taking a year off. They are going for it, which I do kind of understand because they already committed to Brock Purdy. It'd be kind of weird to give Brock Purdy this monster extension and then tap out of competing for the next year. But I mean, there's real risk here. Like obviously, this is good for the Niners because they give themselves a chance with a really good left tackle for at least one more season. But that really good left tackle is very, very old and very, very worn down. So we'll see which way this goes. But this probably changes things a little bit for the upcoming draft because, again, if you're going for it, you're probably not going to take a left tackle that will not play as a rookie with a first round pick. So we'll see where things go, but this is certainly notable. And then you had this from Rappaport and a couple other sources in the last couple of days. The Rams and Matthew Stafford have made significant progress on a new extension that should put Stafford in the building for the 2026 offseason. Now, his current contract already runs through 2026, so it's not like right, we knew that Stafford was coming back for 2026. We all knew that because he had said he was, and his contract was not expired. But the fact that they're talking about an extension is notable here, and as the team in the division, we certainly take note and care about these things. Sean McVay said earlier this year he believes Stafford could play beyond this season. So, despite the mileage, despite the age, it sounds like the Rams are at least open to making a longer term commitment to Stafford beyond just 2026 and taking on the risk of having a larger contract to a player who retires or ages out, who gets to the point where he can't really play at that high level anymore. Now, the thing with Stafford is he's already shown a willingness to not take every penny that he can. That's not something that he seems motivated by anymore. And I think Stafford's made more money on NFL contracts than any other player in NFL history. So he doesn't really necessarily need it. So that's part of the benefit here. He's not here trying to get paid like the like the $60 million men out there. But this is interesting because as of right now, the Rams have no commitment to Stafford beyond 2026, which basically leaves them completely free to do other things when they get to the when they get to the end of the season. If Stafford isn't playing as well, they can just say, okay, we're done. If Stafford retires, they don't owe him anything beyond whatever void year money there may be on the deal, which I don't know if there is any, but they wouldn't owe him anything of significance. If they do this, now they're betting on him continuing to be a really good player in 2026 and being somebody that they feel good about into 2027 and beyond. So we'll see how this goes, but this is another move that indicates that these teams in our division, they are not tapping out. And of course the Rams aren't. We knew that, but they are not looking to move on from what they have anytime soon here. And they're willing to take on some risks to do it. And I think this is certainly the right thing to do for that Rams team because at the end of the day, it's hard to find a quarterback, and it's really hard to find a quarterback that meets Sean McVay's standard. We know this because of Goff. Jared Goff is not a bad quarterback, but he was so under what Sean McVay wanted that Sean McVay decided to, or at least heavily motivated Les Snead to do whatever it took to get somebody better. And Goff, like I said, is not bad. So this is something that a coach that truly believes he needs this level of quarterback to succeed at the highest level with, that is indicative of his standard. And Stafford is still playing at that standard for the time being. So it makes sense why you would take on the risk, but it is a risk. I've talked about it before. I'll talk about it again. Things happen very fast for quarterbacks. They go from top of the world to bottom of the heap in days, weeks. It happens so fast. So the fact that they're willing to go from where they have now to where they have basically no risk beyond just 2026, which is obvious, to taking on a lot of risk, it's worth keeping an eye on. All right, so that's what's going on within the division. So things are not going to be changing too much anytime soon, it looks like. The Rams want Stafford for the foreseeable future, and the Niners are rolling it forward with their core. As old and injury-prone as their core may turn into, they still feel like those guys are very good and they can win a championship with them, or at least you would hope they think that. If they don't think that, then what are they doing? Staying on the treadmill. All right. Gonna be at least one more video later today. See you guys soon. Go Hawks. Everyone have a great rest of your day.